Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace. I'm so happy you clicked on this video. Today I have 6 easy projects for y'all. I have still been in this creative rut recently. Just this heat is whooping me, y'all. It's whooping me and it's taking my creativity out the window, I guess. So I'm working on simple projects, things that just need a little bit of help before I can put a price tag on them and take them to my booth to resell. If y'all did not catch last week's video, that was the booth expansion video, and it is a really good before and after and during process of the whole process. So y'all be sure to check that out. I'm going to leave it in the description box of this video, and I will tag it at the end. Other than that, let's get started on today's projects. Our first project is this wooden riser I thrifted for $1.99 at Salvation Army. It had a little bit of wiggle on the base, so I pre-drilled a hole through that base part into the spindle and added a 2-inch screw to secure that a little bit better. And then I needed to work on this peeling paint. This is just some latex paint and it was peeling off in sheets. I started off with this scraper. Then that was going to take a little bit too much time, so then I just took a 120 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander and took every little piece of paint off of it. It was so satisfying. I have this wire cloche. It started off black. I thrifted it at the 301 yard sale for $1. I added a new knob to the top of it, and I just took a little short screw and washer and fed it up through the top into that piece of hardware. And initially I was not going to use the base that this wired cloche came with, but as you can see, it just wasn't going to sit up there properly, so I decided to glue this base to the wooden riser. I'm just going to apply a nice size bit of quick and thick wood glue and then flip the riser over and get it centered onto the new base. I'm going to wipe off any excess glue and let that dry overnight. Here is how we are looking. I'm going to take some DIY paint in black velvet and I'm going to heavily mist my project. We're going to be using this paint as more of a wash or a stain. You're going to be able to see the wood grain through this light coat of paint. And I don't know, I just love using DIY clay-based paint when I plan on wet distressing a piece. It just works beautifully. So we're going to get this one thin coat applied and we're going to let that dry. I forgot to record and I forgot to mention that I spray painted this piece in just with a gold spray paint, and it's just a little too gold for me. So I'm going to take that paintbrush that just has a little bit of that black velvet paint on it and just stipple and swipe some paint up there and then come in with a baby wipe and blot a little bit off. This will just tone down that gold color just a smidge. Now it's time to bring back some of that raw wood underneath this black velvet paint. I'm just going to use a baby wipe to wet distress the high points and just some random spots here and there. Then we're going to let that dry again before we come in with a top coat. Since we use the DIY paint, it needs to be sealed. So I just poured some out in a little cup, so I don't get, the black pigments from using a paintbrush on this black paint into my bigger container. That's always a good idea if you're working with a highly pigmented paint, so you don't contaminate your whole container. I just applied one even coat. So now I have grabbed a grapevine wreath and some Hobby Lobby garland greenery. I always pick this up when it's 40% off, and it's some of my favorite greenery. I try to keep a stash of this greenery at all times. So I just pulled off some little sprigs, and I'm using just a tiny bit of hot glue to keep these sprigs in place in our little wreath. And I'm just going to fill it up until I like the way it looks. Then I'm going to come in and add just another texture by grabbing a few different kinds of moss, using a little bit of hot glue to tack on these small moss pieces. Other than that, this project is done. I love how it came out. I wish I had a little bird figurine to sit in it, but I don't. I priced it for $27. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Here is our next project, a wooden bread box, and just to let y'all know, we are not going to be painting this one. It had some problems though, so we need to do a little bit of cleaning and just playing with it to try to get this door to properly go up and down. It was getting stuck. This thing had spider webs in it, rat poop, like it was disgusting. So I'm going to start by just getting my little dusting brush to get out the cobwebs and the loose dust off of the bread box before we come in with some Windex and soak this baby down. Inside and out, I'm spraying a lot of Windex up here, and I even let it sit for a minute before I come in with a microfiber cloth and start scrubbing. I wanted to paint this piece, but I know people really love this tone of wood, and just since this is a vintage piece, I didn't want to devalue it, but that doesn't always deter me from painting something, honestly, but I just feel like it could sell without being painted, so I'm going to try that first. Look how disgusting this knob is. I went and soaked that in some hot water and Dawn dish soap for a little while, and now I'm cleaning out the inside. And this was when I was like, I have to remove this back because I cannot clean it properly. And y'all, I am so glad I did. This is where I found the rat poop. So it was disgusting, but I pried this back off and dusted all that out, and then gave it a really good clean again before we start our next process. I'm sure most of y'all know how this operates, this door, but as you can see, there is little cutouts on both sides where it's kind of like a guide for the door to open and close. I'm taking some Howard's Feed and Wax on my wax brush and pushing that wax into that guide on both sides, and this will just give it some moisture, give that wood something to drink, and lubricate the guide so the door can more freely go up and down. I did both sides, like towards the back area with the door fully closed in the front, and went ahead and got the hard to reach spots while I was working it from this angle. And then I'm going to flip it around and push the door all the way open and do the other two spots right here. I am a huge fan of this product. I go through it like crazy, especially when I'm doing a lot of furniture refinishing. I always add this product to the inside of my drawers, the inside of the dresser, the wooden drawer guides, and the bottom rails of the drawer. It works amazing. All you have to do is just apply it liberally like you would any other wax. Let it soak into the wood and for about 30 minutes, and then come in and wipe any excess off. I applied 2 coats, waiting about an hour in between each coat to this bread box, and it is like a totally new bread box at this point. It's a really amazing product if you're not wanting to paint an item and just refresh the wood. I cleaned up that hardware knob, attached it, and added the back on with a few staples, and other than that, this project is done. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this cleanup transformation. I priced it for $35. I forgot to tell y'all how much I paid for it. I picked this piece up for $2. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Here's an easy makeover for y'all. I thrifted both of these canisters. They were 50% off. One's $1.99 and the other one maybe $2.99. From Salvation Army. We're going to start off by getting off the price tags and stickers. I like to heat them up with my heat gun so it just loosens up that glue, and then take my little scraper tool to get them off. Then we're going to give the glass a good clean as well as the lids. I am a sucker for mushrooms, especially mushrooms that are on sale for $7. This is a Dixie Belle transfer, comes with 4 sheets of gorgeous mushrooms. Now, this isn't a product I sell, but like I said, if I see something with mushrooms on it, I don't care if I sell it or not. I gotta have it. We're going to be adding some mushrooms to our little glass canisters. This one was a bit too tall, so I'm going to round off that bottom and just trim it some. And then we're going to start transferring by peeling off that protective backing, get it positioned, and then fully commit, because once these things go down on glass, there is no going back. They stick very well to glass. Then I'm going to grab one of my burnishing tools and start rubbing that transfer all over. Then I will pick a corner and start lifting and rubbing at the same time until we can get this transfer on fully. And then I'm going to use my fingers and hands and just burnish the transfer into the glass. I'm not going to be sealing over this since it's on glass, so I need to make sure it's down well and there's no air bubbles. Now, the difference between, I'm not going to say a bad transfer, but these have a large shadow line. It's hard to see on video, but that's you get what you pay for, is what I'm saying. IOD's shadow line is so tiny, it's almost impossible to see, and that's what I'm used to. But other than that, these worked very well, and I would recommend them. I added this cutie to the smaller canister. And then I really wasn't even going to paint the lids because I thought they matched well, but I don't know. I changed my mind. So we're going to remove these gaskets. What are they called? Wow, what are they called? Either way, we're going to remove those. What are they called, Bailey? Seals. Oh my goodness, y'all, blonde moment. We removed the seals so we didn't get any paint on them, and I applied 2 coats of this gorgeous off-white color by Fusion, the new Alchemy line. This is a chalk and limestone paint, and I knew I wanted to do some wet distressing. I got some crackle here on this one when I force dried the paint with my heat gun, so that was just an added bonus to me. Taking a baby wipe and going to do some light wet distressing and then put everything back together. And these are done. I love how these came out. I probably should have painted the underneath of the lids, but I didn't. I priced them between $7 and $10 a piece. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this easy project. Here is another simple upgrade. I thrifted this cottage style birdhouse for $2. It is actually clean right now, as clean as I can get it, believe it or not. It just has some serious patina on it. And I did not want to get rid of all that gorgeousness. I just wanted to tone it back just a little bit. So I grabbed some Fusion all-in-one paint in the color Parchment, and I'm just going to do a heavy dry brush. It's not really a dry brush, but I'm just going to let my paintbrush skip over some of that texture, so we're not getting rid of all of the patina and charm that this birdhouse has. I just applied 1 coat. The great thing about Fusion is it's rated for outdoors, UV resistant, so I'm not having to do anything else other than add this little bit of paint that I'm adding. After we finished this coat of paint, I added a wire hanger from the top, put the base back on it with the included clips. I priced it for $27 and it sold the very same day I put it in my booth. What do y'all think about this cute birdhouse? There is a theme to this video. Here's another simple project. I have these metal tiny frames that Miss Lori picked up for me. I believe she said she paid like 50 cents a piece for them, and they are really good sellers in my booth, and I just like to throw a little something in the frames before I sell them. So I have a piece of cardstock here. I'm using the piece of glass to get my measurements, and then I will cut them out. We're going to add some stamping to these pieces of paper. I'm going to break out the ephemeral type stamp. I'm going to use my permanent black IOD ink to ink up a section that I want to use, and then I'm just going to hover and press down over my piece of paper, and then I'm going to make sure I clean my stamp well with a baby wipe before I put it up. Take care of your stamps. They are pretty expensive. Then I've just grabbed some random transfers, and I'm going to start applying transfers to both pieces of paper. I believe these little pieces are from Wild Bloomin', just some florals, a gorgeous yellow butterfly on both pieces, and a random bug. You're going to clean these pieces of glass up using some Windex, let that dry for a little bit, and then we're going to put everything back together in this frame, and we're going to move on to one of the other frames Miss Lori got me. And I loved this one because it had the little cameo piece that came with it. So I've already cut out my piece of paper to fit the frame, and I'm holding that oval cut out in place so I know exactly where to put my transfer. And here I just added a cute little butterfly. This one came with some filler pieces, so I'm going to be sure to put those filler pieces back in before adding the tripod back thingy. Like I said, these are great sellers. I'm going to price them for $6.99 a piece. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these. Our last project today is this black ceramic vase. I thrifted for $1.99, I believe. We're going to start by giving it a good clean, remove stickers inside and out. And this piece had some wax on the inside of it too that I had to reheat with my heat gun and kind of scrape that out. It's pretty aggravating. But we're going to set that to the side, and I'm going to use the Vase mold by IOD. I'm dusting my mold here with some cornstarch and then just tapping all the excess out, and I'm opening up a brand new pack of IOD air dry clay. I'm going to grab a chunk out of there and start warming it up in my hands, get it warmed up and more pliable, and then we'll start pressing it into our mold. I'm going to use my thumbs to press it in there, and then I'll also use my thumbs to just scrape off any excess clay, using that micro rim as a guide to get a nice flat back. I've had several people ask me how I store my clay, so I wanted to show you here. I wrap up my clay in the original packaging as best as I can, and then I grab a Ziploc bag, shove it in there. Here I have a baby wipe. I'm going to mist, make sure it's damp, and I'm going to put that in the Ziploc bag. This will just keep your clay moist. Then I'm going to try to get as much air out of it as I possibly can before I zip up that zipper and that's how I store my clay. And I've had clay like that sit for months before I come back to it, and it seems to keep it pliable and workable. So I have released my castings now, and now it's time to get them glued down to the vase. I'm using Titebond Quick and Thick. Apply a nice good bit, obviously, probably too much glue to the back, and spread it out with my finger. Then I'm going to flip it over and get it positioned on my vase, pressing lightly because our casting is very fresh. You don't want to damage it. And then we're going to add our little tails to the bottom of our mold using the Titebond Quick and Thick. Then I'll grab a baby wipe and a paintbrush to get any glue squeeze out off of the vase. It's not really important because we're going for a textured finish, but it's just easier to clean it up now while it's wet than before you let it dry. So I taped that up and I let it sit overnight, and as you can see, I had the tails, they slid down some. So we're going to come in and fix that right now. I just grabbed a little piece of clay out of my pack, and I'm just going to apply some glue to that area once I have a game plan of what I'm actually going to do. I'm just going to make that center knot a little bit larger to hide the gap. So I'm going to apply my glue to that section, and then I'm going to place my little piece of clay in that gap, and I'll just form it and manipulate it to kind of resemble the knot shape. And I even use my fingernails to create those ridges in the ribbon. Grabbing a paintbrush to get any glue squeeze out off of the vase, and here I'm using my fingernails to kind of mimic those wrinkles. I'm going to create some textured paint. I have a cup of salt wash here and some old coal fusion paint. Like, I couldn't even dump it out of the container, it's so old. So it's pretty thick on its own. So this is going to be a very, very thick paint once we mix in that salt wash. We'll take a paintbrush and dab and stipple our layer of paint on our vase and on our bow. I'm really shoving that mixture where the casting meets the vase, and this will just fill in any gaps that may have happened when we glued on our bow, and we'll just make the piece look like it's one and not just something stuck on it like an afterthought. So I'm even taking this textured paint and going over the casting itself. Usually I don't do that because it kind of takes away some of the details of the casting. But in this case, I wanted the bow to be textured as well. This will take this slick, this slick, shiny surface and maybe mimic a metal finish whenever we get done with it. So I just applied that one coat, and now I'm coming in with Paint Couture's Luxe Metallic Paint. This is the color Bronze. And this is my favorite product by Paint Couture. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous bronze color. I'm taking a used paintbrush, well-loved paintbrush that I like to pounce and stipple with, and I'm going to apply our first coat of bronze paint. Really, this Paint Couture product has really, really good coverage. I could have just did one coat, but I wanted to add a second coat. But if you don't, it makes it look like aged metal with some of that black peeking through. But for this project, I decided I want full coverage. I applied 2 coats to get that full coverage, just on the outside of the vase. I told myself as I was taking the final pictures of this project that, Bailey, you forgot to add the blue patina. I don't know. I like it either way, but I still might go back and add just a little bit of blue patina around the bow because I love that look. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this vase transformation. I'm going to price it for $27, And I'm so sorry. I feel like I have been a mess this whole video. I appreciate y'all being here with me today and spending your time watching this video. Y'all's support means the world to me. Y'all let me know what y'all's favorite project was down in the comments. Give this video a like if you got any inspiration, and consider subscribing if you have not already. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye. Hey, just jumping back on here for a quick second. If y'all are still here, are y'all ready for fall projects? Y'all let me know down in the comments. It's about that time for me to bring it into my retail booth. So y'all let me know if y'all are ready to start seeing fall projects. Thanks so much. Bye.